Welcome to the Money is Emotional podcast with Christine Luken, the financial dignity coach. In this podcast, we help you recover a positive and peaceful relationship with your personal finances. We do this by bringing together wise money management with emotional intelligence. Join us for this journey where we navigate our relationship with money as Christine Luken draws from years of experience and guest experts to help you get to the root of your money issues.
Hello, my friend. Welcome to the Money is Emotional podcast. I am your host, Christine Luken. Hey, we all need to eat, right? But for many families, the increasing cost of food is eating a big hole in their budgets. In this episode, we share easy tips to rein in spending on groceries and eating out. As usual, my producer, Bill, is joining me. Bill, welcome to this delicious money-saving conversation.
I love food. Okay, this is going to be good.
And we're going to get to save some money.
Food's even better, right? This is good. I like this.
Exactly. The first thing I want to start with is it's not your imagination. The price of food has gone up pretty drastically since COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Before 2020, grocery prices were rising around 1.2% a year, which is, it's normal. You expect things to go up every now and then, and usually it's just by a few cents, a few dollars. But supermarket and restaurant prices are now 25% higher than they were in January 2020.
Wait, 25%?
Yes.
Wow.
So if they had been tracking with inflation pre-COVID, they should be about 5% higher by now, but they're actually 25% higher. So there's a combination of factors for that. So general inflation is 20%, but it's still higher. It's still an additional 5% higher than general inflation. There's been various supply chain issues. Obviously, there was a lot of that when COVID is going on. But, there's still things like, war in the Ukraine that it's affecting food prices, because when you've got conflict in areas of the world that are supplying food to the global economy, that's going to affect some things. There's also been issues with drought and disease that have affected some major food categories like beef and eggs. I mean, do you remember when eggs skyrocketed and it was like an egg was worth its weight in gold? So kind of recovered a little bit. Yeah. They've recovered a little bit. However, there's a lot of factors that are going into this price increase. Now, grocery prices are starting to show signs of slowing down and leveling off, but they are not dropping back to pre-COVID rates for sure. Now, restaurant prices, they're still expected to climb another 5% this year.
Wow. First of all, this an editorial note here. I do grocery shopping, and I am stunned by how much money we spend. We're pretty healthy eaters, and we're pretty non-extravagant in terms of our grocery needs. Just the two of us, my wife and I have noticed a steep increase. 25% is frightening, actually. I've looked around at people with kids. Our kids are grown and out of the house. I look around with kids shopping with kids for a family. I do not know how literally how they are able to do it, man. It's scary. The grocery store's a frightening place lately for some.
It is. And we will definitely get to the grocery store eventually. So, first of all, you're not imagining things. The food costs more now, period. Yeah. So what can we do about that? We're going to start looking at the different areas of how we consume our food and different ways that we can save And we're going to talk about the most expensive way first.
Ooh.
Food delivery is the most expensive way to get your nutrition.
Now, food delivery, you mean like Grubhub and DoorDash and et cetera?
Yep, absolutely. So if there's any industry that COVID helped to skyrocket other than hand sanitizer, it's these food delivery companies
Yeah.
like DoorDash and UberEats. So here's the problem. We got into the habit of using these services during COVID. Once quarantines were lifted, that habit stuck for a lot of people.
Mm.
That habit did not go away. I'm sure hand sanitizer sales are probably down from the height of the pandemic. I'm sure they're still probably higher than pre-pandemic levels, but the habit didn't disappear. Like, this is a hardy industry. Here is what is super scary. It can add 25 to 91%
Oh, what?
to your restaurant bill.
91%?
Yes, this is insane. So there's a New York Times article that broke down the cost of getting the same meal directly from the restaurant and then from 4 major food delivery apps. So It was Subway. Now, I'm not sure why this guy decided to order 2 6-inch turkey subs when he could have ordered a footlong. That's what he ordered. I'm just telling you what he bought in the article. So he physically went down to Subway and bought it. And that cost him, after tax, about $13.
Okay.
So over the next 4 days, he ordered the same exact meal from Grubhub, DoorDash, Postmates, and Uber Eats, which are the big 4 food delivery companies. Grubhub, in this instance, was the least expensive. He got the sandwich for about $16.50 before tip.
Ooh.
Before tip.
Ooh.
Now, Uber Eats is $25.
Wow.
For the exact same order. Also, before tip.
Oh, wow. If you add tip to that, you could easily have just doubled the cost of 2 6-inch turkey subs.
Oh, I mean, let's think about it. Okay, let's say you just tipped $5. It's like, do you really want to pay $25 to $30 for 12 inches of a turkey sub?
No, not me. But maybe that's just me. Holy cow.
So why is it so expensive? Well, here's the thing. There's multiple parties involved, and they get paid in a variety of ways. So there's potentially 4 extra fees. Some of the apps mark up the food itself. So
food for delivery.
Yes. So for example, like if you go to Subway, they'll say, okay, it's $12.58 before tax. Well, with Uber Eats, they're telling you it's $14.78 before tax.
Ooh.
And before all these extra fees we're going to put on there. So you've got the markup of the food, you've got the delivery fee. And this particular article broke it down. The delivery fees ranged from $1.99 to $3.99. Now, that delivery fee is not a tip. And they encourage tipping on top of that, right? So then you also have a service fee. And the service fee is essentially what the app gets for every order.
Not the delivery fee. They get the service. I always wondered what the service fee was. Okay.
Yes.
So the delivery fee stays with the restaurant
or the driver. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how they divide those up, but that's what they charge. So I'm sure whether somebody tips or not, the driver gets paid something. But of course, they always prompt you to tip. And sometimes those apps will add like a suggested minimum tip.
Yes.
That you can go in and change. So if you really want restaurant food, especially if it's a short drive, get your hiney in the car and go get it. Call ahead, pick it up if you really want restaurant food, because this has gotten into a habit. And I tell people, when I'm not saying you should never do this, but we need to return food delivery to a treat status rather than a regular habit.
You could you could do it this way. In the ad parlance, if we're a marketing team, we could say save yourself 25 to 91% off your food bill by getting your hiney in the car and picking it up yourself.
Exactly. Or telling your spouse, hey, on the way home, I've called this order and go pick it up, right? So it's so interesting because as I'm coaching people, when we start putting all these numbers into the personal finance app and say, okay, how much do you think you spend on this? How much do you think you spend on this? And when I say, okay, so for restaurants and dining out, let's put food delivery in there. Almost no one guesses it right or overestimates it. No. They're always over what they think they're spending. And then it's like, they're like, oh my God, we spent $700 on restaurants. And then they look and it's like, it's not that they went out for this fabulous steak and lobster dinner and split a bottle of French wine. It's Subway and Chipotle and Panera and, the local chili parlor. And it's like, it's not even food that's been memorable.
Holy
for them.
Well, I have a little confession to make here. My wife and I have used a delivery service once.
Yeah.
And we were like, why did we do that? I could have gotten in the car, driven over and picked it up. But, it's like I guess because everybody has to do something once, right? But it was like, wow. I did not realize how much of a significant cost it added to the price of a meal.
It does.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I rarely use it, every once in a great while. And it's usually because, like somebody's sick or there's some extenuating circumstance. But for me, it's like, it's a treat. It's not something that I do on a regular basis. Now, dining out can still take a big bite out of your budget, even if it's not being delivered to your door, even if you're going to pick it up or you are going in-house.
Right.
Usually there is an unpleasant surprise during our first budget meeting when they start to see the numbers rolling in from their bank account into that personal finance app. I'm not going to ask anybody to give up eating out. I enjoy eating out. However, we don't have to let this take over our entire food budget, because a lot of times I'm seeing people that are spending as much or more on eating out as they are on groceries.
Ooh.
So I want you to be mindful of what you're spending when you're going to restaurants. So I'm not a monster. I'm not telling you to never eat out.
Okay.
Just eat a tuna sandwich every day for lunch. That's not how it is. So first of all, set a monthly spending limit and track it. So whether you're using a personal finance app or you can use cash. So I've had several of my clients who had issues really getting a handle on this switch their restaurant and eating out money to cash, because it immediately makes you more mindful. You have to open up your wallet and see what's in there before you make a decision on where you're going to go to eat and what you're going to order.
You know what else is true? I don't know if it's true where you are, but this is true definitely where I live. A number of restaurants, in fact, a number of retail outlets have begun giving a discount for cash as opposed to a credit card.
Yeah. I see that especially for a lot of small, locally owned mom and pop restaurants.
Yes. Yeah.
Because every time you swipe a card, there's a transaction fee, and the credit card companies are taking usually in the neighborhood of 1.5% to 3% of every transaction.
That can hurt. Oh,
That can hurt.
Yeah.
That can hurt, which means they usually pass it on to you. That's why they're giving you the cash discount.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what, it's funny because they've been doing us a favor, I guess, in a way, because they've now said, okay, if you want to pay cash, we won't charge you that fee. If you want to use a credit card, it's going to be this much more expensive because that's what we're going to do.
Yep. So I'm going to talk about some super easy ways to cut your spending at restaurants. The first one is drink water with your meal.
Easy.
I mean, here's the thing. If you've got a family of 4 and you're going out to eat and everybody gets a Coke or an iced tea, you're probably spending $3 to $4 per drink plus tip if it's a sit-down restaurant with a waitress.
Yep.
So, if you're paying, 12 to $16 just for your drinks and then you got a tip on it, I mean, there's $20 right there and you haven't even ordered any food yet.
Dare to enter the Wealthy Woman Book Club, where answers exist to forbidden questions, where women of all ages and income secretly gather, where knowledge is shared, where possibilities are explored, where women claim their power. Dare to stay a spell in the Wealthy Woman Book Club. In this place, we lift each other up. In this place, we start dreaming again. In this place, we see financial miracles. In this place, we grow through the glory and the failure. In this place, we step into a new identity. Dare to champion the Wealthy Woman Book Club. We're creating a future where women are financially empowered across the globe. We're creating a future where our daughters stand on equal financial footing with our sons. We're creating a future where we purchase with our principles rather than price tags. We're creating a future where we use the power of money for the benefit of people and the planet. Welcome to the Wealthy Woman Book Club. Dare to come in, woman. Come in. Join us at wealthywomanbookclub.com.
I don't usually think about eating out that way.
Yeah, I mean, it can add a huge chunk, especially if you eat out a lot, just by making that one change. Now, if you're the kind of person that wants to have a beer or a glass of wine with your meal, take advantage of happy hour specials. There are so many restaurants that offer happy hour times, usually between 5 and 7. And they almost always have certain drink specials, certain wine specials. Now, sometimes it might be only on certain days, right? It might be on the days that aren't as busy, etc. But the markup on things like soft drinks and alcohol, wine, beer, it's a ton. Like, I know just from if I buy this same bottle of wine at the liquor store, it's pretty much, you could almost get an entire bottle for the cost of one glass.
Oh, you know what? Is a little secret background on Bill here. I managed restaurants when I was in college. So I can tell you right now, you can double the price. You can double the price. You can look at a bottle of wine in a restaurant, divide it by half, and you can get that bottle of wine almost guaranteed in any liquor store near you for half the price they're charging. And it's a similar markup for soft drinks, for tea, for coffee, because all of those things are inexpensive for the restaurant, but they're great money makers for the restaurant. They're easy. It's easy pickings, low hanging fruit, if you will.
Yep, absolutely. In addition to happy hours, there are some restaurants that still do promotions like free appetizers on this day, or, kids eat free when you purchase an adult meal. Just make yourself familiar with the specials that the restaurants you love to eat. Just find out, like, hey, when do they have the specials? And let's just take advantage of them when we can. That can save you some money. I don't know about you, but 90% of the time when I go out to eat, I cannot clean my plate because there is so much food on it.
Yeah, I've been in restaurants where I thought, what am I going to do with this? This is like way too much food. Yes, I've been there.
Right. So maybe if you and your spouse like the same thing, you can split a meal and then get an extra soup or salad, etc. Or take the leftovers home with you and use them. Have them for lunch the next day. An interesting fact, about 30% of the food that Americans buy, we throw away.
How much?
30%.
Wow. Holy cow.
And that's across the board, both restaurant food and groceries.
That's a stunning number.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. The other thing you can do is eat out for dinner. Lunch/dinner.
Making up words here on the podcast.
Hey, my husband and I have been eating dinner for almost 20 years. We actually really started doing it the first time we went on vacation to Hawaii. We got in really late, and I want to say it was probably already 7 o'clock at night. And we were at the resort, and we went to the front desk, and the first restaurant at the resort, there was a dress code. They wanted us to be like nicely dressed. And Nick and I were just so exhausted from the long flight. I was like, where else can we eat? Like right now.
Here we go.
And they're like, oh, well, there's the luau buffet is out on the grand lawn. Like, go out there and help yourself. Guess how much that evening buffet cost per person?
Man, I don't even. Oh God, I'm gonna guess $50 a person. I have no idea.
It was $100 a person.
Oh,
And this was
we're not getting dressed up.
So it's quite a few years ago. I will say there were lobster tails on the buffet. It was probably one of the best buffets we had. So my husband and I were like, oh my God. Okay, like we're really going to have to pay attention. Otherwise, we're going to completely blow our food budget in like the first 2 days. And we were going to be in Hawaii for 10. So
after the second day, we won't be able to eat anymore.
No. So what we decided to do was, we had breakfast included with our hotel. So what we'd do is around 9 o'clock, we'd pig out at the breakfast buffet. Then we'd pick which nice restaurant we wanted to have dinner at.
Yeah.
So usually these restaurants would have lunch specials, and they would serve lunch until 2:30 or 3 o'clock. So we would go right towards the tail end of their lunch specials. We would get the lunch specials, which were usually 30 to 50% less than what it would cost for us to eat that same meal at 6 o'clock.
Wow.
And then we had a little mini fridge in the room, so we would just stock up on some snacky things if we got hungry later on in the evening. But it was something that we ended up bringing home with us. And so a lot of times we'll go out to eat for lunch instead of dinner, because then you can take advantage of the lunch specials. And a lot of times they're cheaper.
They are. I've never understood why lunch was so much cheaper than dinner, but dinner is almost always more expensive than lunch.
Yeah. And even if the dinner portion is slightly more, I can never eat it anyways. So for me, for us, it works out really well.
Yeah, no, no. Financially makes a lot of sense, actually.
It does. And here's a bonus health tip as we transition into talking about groceries.
Mm.
A home cooked meal typically has 25 to 30% fewer calories and fat than the same restaurant meal.
I completely believe that. And I want to throw in a statistic that I don't have on hand, but I can guarantee you that a restaurant meal is much higher in sodium than a meal you would make at home.
Well, why do they do that? They put in the fat, the salt, so that it tastes good.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, all that extra salt, you're going to need to order some more iced tea or another beer.
Exactly.
All right, so let's talk about saving some green on groceries. Now, these days, every grocery trip feels like a punch in the wallet.
It does.
It
It
does.
literally does.
However, a home cooked meal is typically 50 to 75% less expensive than a restaurant meal.
Mhm.
I don't even know what the astronomical percentage is from food delivery, but I'm sure we could crunch those numbers too. So, how can we keep the grocery costs under control? Most common sense tip I can give you, do not shop while you're hungry.
That's an
Don't
oldie
do
but
it.
goodie because it's true. Yes.
If possible, do not grocery shop with your children and potentially your spouse.
Why?
Grocery shop alone because more people, more temptation, more impulse buys.
Okay. Okay.
Right? You got one person, especially if you got one person that is like very focused. They have their routine down. They know where everything is in the store. I mean, that's you and me, Bill, right? If you do the grocery shopping in your
Yep.
house, that's me.
I know where everything is. Although they threw me a real serious loop during COVID and rearranged the store. And it took me months to get over, okay?
I hate when they do that.
Oh, me too.
You're not alone. So
People in the store were walking around, Christine, going, "Hey, do you know where they moved the coffee?"
no. But if you can grocery shop alone and not hungry, you're probably going to spend less. I mean, I just took Nick with me to the grocery store on Sunday. And when we got to the front, he's like, I know I just cost you an extra $25 to $30.
Oh, good for you, Nick.
He's wandering away from me, right? Like I'm on my mission buying everything on the list, and all of a sudden he's wandered away, and then he comes back with like all these things that I would have never bought.
Yes.
Just like your kids, right?
Yep.
So if you can shop alone, do it whenever possible. Also, know which stores have the best prices on the food that your family eats. So for me, that doesn't necessarily mean shopping only at one store.
Okay.
Now, I typically shop at Aldi, which I am a huge Aldi fan. If you have one close by, it's a German grocery store. It is small, it's efficient. I can grocery shop in like 20 minutes from start to finish. And it's no fluff, but it's good quality. Nick and I eat a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, and they've got a great selection of organic stuff. And it probably costs me about 30% less than if I were to shop at the major grocery store chain here.
Okay.
Now, they don't have everything that I need. So I still have to go to the major grocery store chain, usually about once a month. And then I also once a month go to Costco. And with Costco, their are certain things that I know are cheaper there that Nick and I eat and use. So like
Okay.
coffee, their whole bean coffee, best price on the planet.
Wow.
Super high quality whole bean coffee. I mean, in the grocery store, you might get this little tiny bag for like $15. I
Yeah.
mean, their bag is like 3 to 4 times the size for
Whoa.
$15 or $16. Yeah. So I have just learned through trial and error over a period of years where the best places are for the stuff that we need. Now, way back in the day, I used to do a lot of couponing, comparing prices, shopping different stores. I do not have time for that now. So you just got to find like what's the best place to buy these things.
Yeah.
Pick the store brands over the name brands. And here's why. Most stores guarantee that you will like their store brand or your money back. Now, Aldi actually gives you double your money back if you don't like one of their brands.
Oh,
They'll refund your money and replace the product.
there's an Aldi near me. Maybe I should go check that. I should check that out. Holy cow.
You're going to come back to me in like a couple of weeks and be like, oh my gosh, Christine, you have saved me so much money.
Right on the money. Holy cow.
Yes. And did you know Aldi brands are all made by other name brand companies like General Mills, and they are just put in different boxes?
Yeah. That's not unusual.
It's not.
Not unusual.
It's not. The same thing goes for the Walmart brand, the Trader Joe's brand, and Costco. And here's something interesting. Costco's coffee is roasted by Starbucks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Uh-huh. I am not against buying name brands, but I don't want people to waste your dollars to buy name brand consumables.
Yeah.
I mean, because honestly, you're consuming that name brand product and then you're flushing it down the toilet 24 hours later.
Literally.
Yes.
Quite literally, yes.
I'd much rather you buy a Louis Vuitton purse.
That you might actually use a couple of times, right?
Exactly. And people will actually see the label and might be impressed by
like,
it.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Like, nobody cares what brand tea I'm drinking. They don't. They can't even see that.
True. Very true.
Yes. So once we are buying groceries smartly, we're paying attention, we want to make the most of the food that we're buying. And I just mentioned that Americans throw away about 30% of the food that they buy. So this means if you're spending $1,000 a month on groceries, you could be scraping about $300 right into the trash can.
That's kind of graphic. Yeah, that's well done there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. So, what is the solution here? Because groceries aren't cheap, we have to make the most of them. So, it's almost like managing your money, but you're managing your food resources. But instead of budgeting, we're going to do some meal planning. I've given up couponing a long time ago. There's one thing I will never give up, and that is meal planning. And it's because meal planning helps us to make the most of our food resources. And not only are you saving money, you're saving time, you're saving yourself stress, and you're going to eat healthier.
Makes sense.
So, and here's the thing. It doesn't have to be super hard. I actually have a free resource for you guys. I have my ebook that I don't really talk about much anymore. I don't sell it anymore. I just give it away. It's called Mindful Meal Planning. And it's my entire system that I teach my clients for meal planning.
Oh, nice. Where can I get that? Maybe I should get it.
Yes, we are going to put the link right in the show notes.
Good deal.
But meal planning is simply planning out the meals that you're going to eat before you go to the grocery store. Because what typically happens is you get home, you've been stuck in traffic, right? We were talking about
Yep.
It must be like Trucker Thursday or whatever, because all the truckers are on the road.
There they are.
You were stuck in traffic and almost missed the podcast and it was stressful. And, then it's like, hey, you get off the podcast and your wife's like, what's for dinner? Well, you might start opening the fridge and the cabinets and, well, there's food in there, but it's like, oh, well, we could have had spaghetti and meatballs, but the ground beef is frozen solid. Well, we could have had chicken and mushrooms, but oh crap, we don't have any mushrooms, right? So then you go through all of these scenarios and then you're like, screw it, let's just go out to eat. Or
let's have DoorDash deliver. Oh wait, that's a bad.
But this is what happens, right?
It is. That's exactly what happens.
And a lot of times people think that meal planning is going to take away their choices and make them feel restricted. But I tell them, like, look, it's not a straitjacket. This is to give you options. So if these are the 5 or 6 meals that we're going to eat this week, and yes, we are going to eat out one day, then when you go to the store, you've purchased everything that you need for those meals. So you don't have to go in the middle of the week to the grocery store for mushrooms, because Lord knows you're not coming out of that grocery store with just mushrooms. Right? You're going to come out with a bag with about $30 worth of stuff instead of just that $3 package of mushrooms.
Yep.
So, I've had people say, well, how do I know I'm going to feel like eating that on that day? Well, it's like, okay, well, in the morning, you can look at your meal planning calendar and say, well, spaghetti and meatballs is on the calendar for tomorrow. Let me get that ground beef out of the freezer. And guess what? If I don't feel like eating that, here's 3 other meals that I can make with that ground beef or ground turkey.
Yeah.
It's really about giving yourself options, not restricting you.
Plus, when you do meal planning, you know what to buy at the grocery store. It's not let me wander through and do a grab this and grab that kind of deal. Because this way, I know I'm going to make these things. So I need to buy these things. So you do have a much better focus in terms of what you're doing there. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're not paying attention, food can be a big black hole that eats into your family's budget. But by dining out intentionally, by being a smart grocery shopper and meal planning, you can immediately start saving money. And then you can put that money towards your important and fun goals. And that's really what it's all about.
Excellent. This is fascinating. Before I forget, the meal planning is in the show notes, right? So
yes,
people who are interested can go check it out there.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is also in the show notes, but I always like to ask you, is if I'm listening to this podcast and want to get a hold of you, how do I do that?
Yes. The easiest way is to go straight to the website, which is my name, ChristineLuken.com. And if you're interested in coaching, you can go to ChristineLuken.com/apply, and we'll chat and see if we're a good fit to work together.
That's fantastic. The other thing that you can do besides get the mindful meal planning thing for free is you can also just hit follow on this podcast and you'll be subscribed to the podcast. That's free too. How about that? That way you don't have to think, oh, I wonder when Christine if she's put out a new podcast or not. You won't. You'll be notified. It's really easy peasy on that one. Free and easy. Subscribe. And if you like it, look, this is an ask from me. Tell people about it, okay? Share what Christine is talking about, especially if you find it useful and you like it. On behalf of Christine and everybody that she counsels, coaches, and gives great advice to, I want to thank you for listening to the podcast today and remind you that you do have a choice. You can go out today and make it a great day or not. The choice is yours. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the Money is Emotional podcast. To get in touch, visit our website at www.christineluken.com or drop us a line at hello@christineluken.com. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Christine Luken. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing or tax advice. Always seek the advice of your advisor, tax professional, or other qualified financial professional with any questions you may have regarding your personal finances.